What's up, everybody? This is Chris Surratt bringing you another edition of the Car Concierge Show, the show that helps with the buying, selling, maintaining, and repairing of your vehicle. Mostly. On today's show, we're going to talk about pretty much what everybody's talking about. We're definitely going to talk about the whole TikTok ban situation. Going to talk about the fact that Donald Trump will be taking over as president in the next couple of days. And then, well, we're going to sneak in a little bit of automotive talk, and we're going to talk about a equal employment lawsuit against GM, Stellantis, and UAW. So, didn't know which way we was going to start this one off, but let's just get it out the way. The fact is TikTok has been banned. I had a couple of followers on TikTok. I wasn't really big on it. I think my real estate TikTok page was probably doing a lot better than my other TikTok page. But I probably still had like maybe 3,000 followers. But, you know, if TikTok goes away, don't feel like it's going to bother me a lot. I spent a lot of time being social media agnostic, as it were. But let's check out what's going on with the TikTok situation. Check out a couple of videos, and then we'll move on to something else that piques our interest.
TikTok went offline in the US on Saturday night their time, less than 2 hours before a ban was slated to actually go into effect. Visitors to the app were greeted with a message that said, "Sorry, TikTok isn't available right now. A law banning TikTok has been enacted in the US. Unfortunately, that means you can't use the app right now." Here's what TikTok's CEO and Donald Trump had to say about it.
Hi everyone, it's Show here. As you know, we have been fighting to protect the constitutional right to free speech for the more than 170 million Americans who use our platform every day. On behalf of everyone at TikTok and all our users across the country, I want to thank President Trump for his commitment to work with us to find a solution that keeps TikTok available in the United States. This is a strong stand for the First Amendment and against arbitrary censorship. Rest assured, we will do everything in our power to ensure our platform thrives as your online home for limitless creativity and discovery, as well as a source of inspiration and joy for years to come.
And I use TikTok, so I can't really, I can't totally hate it. It was very effective. But I will say this, if you do that, something else is going to come along and take its place. And maybe that's not fair. What they're doing, and really what the judge actually said was that you can't have Chinese companies. In other words, they have the right to ban it if you can prove that the Chinese companies own it. That's what the judge actually
So are you
said.
going to try to protect TikTok just very quick once you're in office?
I'm going to try and make it so that other companies don't become an even bigger monopoly.
Okay, got that little jump in by Trump at the end. And, well, let's check out one more video and then we'll talk about it. Because I want to get the view from a place that's out of the U.S.
TikTok has stopped working in the United States. It's disappeared from Apple and Google app stores too, as part of a blackout ahead of a law implementing its shutdown. The US has cited national security concerns about the Chinese-owned video app, but President-elect Donald Trump has said he will probably give it a 90-day reprieve from the ban. Well, let's speak to a North America technology correspondent, Lily Jamali, who's in San Francisco for us. So, Lily, just tell us what happens when people in America try to access TikTok at the moment.
Well, I can tell you from personal experience, because I have it pulled up right here on my phone, that I'm getting a message that says, "Sorry, TikTok isn't available right now." And I imagine the 170 million other American users are now getting that very same message. It then says that a law banning TikTok has been enacted. That's part of the story here. That's part of the law that was passed by Congress last year, which you mentioned went through on national security grounds, concerns about Chinese ownership of the app. But left out in this statement by TikTok is the fact that TikTok and its Chinese owner, they've had 9 months to sell this app to a U.S. buyer.
So that's the biggest problem that I'm having with it, is the fact that they're almost trying to force the Chinese company to sell their TikTok to an American company. And it's a lot of problems I have with this, which I'm going to go over here in a minute. But the idea that they enacted the law. What Trump said a second ago, the law was pretty much about Chinese companies not being able to facilitate here in the U.S. So, and that's a bigger point. It's a bigger point because why at this point, why now is the U.S. trying to facilitate a stoppage of Chinese companies from working here in the U.S.? Do they know something that we don't? Let's keep going.
They didn't do that. Of course, both of these options are clearly unsavory to the company. But at this point, they have exhausted every legal avenue at their disposal. They've taken this to a U.S. appeals court where the law was upheld. The Supreme Court did the same on Friday. They do, of course, have an ally, as you noted, in President-elect Donald Trump, who takes office the day after, so tomorrow on Monday. And he, as you mentioned, has said he will try to enact he's likely to, is the phrasing that he used, to enact a reprieve of about 3 months. The question is whether legally he can actually do that.
And so why has the company chosen to effect this ban, even though it has, a very powerful ally in Donald Trump? Talk us through the ecosystem about how Americans access TikTok and the companies that could have been liable if they'd continued making it accessible.
Well, as of right now, this law is in force. Donald Trump is not the president. Joe Biden is the president, as you know. And even though Joe Biden has said, his administration has said that they will not enforce this law, companies involved here are technically flouting the law if they continued to uphold the status quo. So that would include companies like Oracle, the web hosting service. They basically have all this data on their servers. And so they have taken action, presumably. You mentioned the app stores. So Apple and Google administer the biggest app stores in the United States, where most Americans go to put the app, to put TikTok on their devices. These various aspects of the ecosystem, these different companies all faced legal action if they didn't do something as of Sunday. And they also faced potentially very steep fines. So yes, Donald Trump comes into office on Monday and can, tell these various companies that he can try and assure them, but they are still flouting the law if they didn't do something.
And talk to us about the possible individuals or companies that could buy the TikTok operations in the United States, and crucially, some allies of Donald Trump.
Yeah, there's a number of potential suitors that have come forward. Most recently, Perplexity AI, which is one of the many AI startups that has cropped up in recent years. But individuals include Donald Trump's former Treasury Secretary, Steven Mnuchin, who floated, he was interested earlier this year when the law first took effect. Another prominent suitor is a billionaire investor named Frank McCourt, who has put a group of investors together. He has made the media rounds, done a lot of interviews talking about what he'd like to do with the app. But the most probably well-known and most interesting, I would say, of the potential suitors here is Elon Musk. He, of course, owns X, formerly known as Twitter. He is a close ally of Donald Trump, campaigned for Donald Trump in the run-up to November's election, and also contributed about $250 million to Donald Trump's re-election campaign. There is talk that he might take over by TikTok and potentially merge it with what was once known as Twitter.
Lily Jamali, thank you very much for that.
So much to unpack with this whole TikTok thing. I mean, of course, you have to realize that to some degree this is some straight smokescreen action. There's other stuff going on that they don't want us to pay attention to. We have to understand that they do understand that China is doing some interesting stuff, some crazy stuff. They're implementing some stuff in vehicles, specifically in this is automotive related to some degree, but China is implementing some technologies in the vehicle to monitor certain things about Americans and what they're doing. So there has been an encroachment into America by the Chinese company, and the government is trying its best to curtail that. By at what I would think is that the TikTok ban is just a highly visual attack on Chinese companies, to the point where Chinese companies can see that the U.S. government knows that they're doing some kind of strange, so they want to put them on notice that they're going to start to do things to stop them from doing whatever they're doing that is bad for the U.S. I really think that's part of it. I think there is a lot to be said about U.S. companies or the U.S. itself trying to monopolize the social media game so that they can get money off of it. Her whole idea that Elon Musk is thinking about buying TikTok and merging it or doing something with it when it comes to, X, formerly known as Twitter or whatever. There's so much to unpack about this TikTok situation. It's unfortunate, really unfortunate, I think, because there's so many people that were making really good money off of TikTok. I wasn't one of them, so it doesn't affect me directly, but I do know a couple people, Urban Gypsy, a couple other people that, were using TikTok to earn a living. So that in itself is a horrible thing. You know me, I hate when people lose financial opportunities. I hate when people lose bags for any way, shape, or form. So in that regard, I hope that, President Trump comes in and opens it back up so those people can make that money and do what they can do. It's the fact that it became a way that people could, make money and become financially stable to some degree, and it was just instantly taken away like that is a horrible thing. I saw a Instagram, it had to be an Instagram post. I saw an Instagram post where a young lady was just breaking down how all of the things that the government could be taking care of, homelessness, the fires over in California, the flooding, all of the bad things that's happening in the world. But the government took this opportunity to concentrate and enact something so fast to ban this TikTok situation that it proves that the government has not been on our side for a long time. Proves that, it proves that the leadership is just not concentrating on the correct stuff. Who cares about this? So, okay, I take that back. You do care about it if you're making money off of it. You really do. I'm sorry to say this, but I wasn't making money off of TikTok. I don't know a lot of people who were, except for Urban Gypsy, maybe a couple other people. Maybe they were making money. I don't even really know if they were making money or not. But to some degree, it's social media. It's not life or death other than the financial aspect of it. But it's not a situation. It just doesn't seem like this is what the government should be concentrating on. This doesn't seem like something that we should be all up in arms about to some degree, unless you're making a lot of money off of it. I give you that. If you are a TikToker that is just banking off TikTok and it was supporting your family and feeding your kids, I understand. But there's other stuff that we need to worry about. And there is. Truly is other stuff that we need to worry about. So, okay, let's keep it moving. Let's go to some bad stuff. We're going to slide in some bad stuff. So, the EEOC, I don't know if you guys know what the EEOC is, but the EEOC is the Equal Employment Opportunity Commission. And, they're one of those entities that goes around, keeping people in line. So, recently, they filed some lawsuits, some age discrimination lawsuits, some sexual harassment lawsuits. And guess who it was against? Not only our favorite automakers, GM, Stellantis, and the UAW. Let's check out this read. All right, so of course we go to automotive news, our favorite place for automotive news. EEOC sues GM UAW for age discrimination. Stellantis sued for sexual harassment. This is by Reuters from, January 18th. The U.S. Equal Employment Opportunity Commission on January 17th sued two automakers accusing General Motors and the UAW of age discrimination and Stellantis of subjecting female employees to sexual harassment. GM and the UAW are accused of having since October 2019 maintained a sickness and accident benefits policy under their collective bargaining agreement that reduces payouts to older employees who receive Social Security benefits. Okay. The EEOC said the policy, covering at least 50 GM facilities nationwide, discriminates against employees ages 66 and older, violating the Federal Age Discrimination in Employment Act. Stellantis U.S. unit, meanwhile, was accused of having since December 2020 tolerated pervasive sexual harassment of female employees at a Detroit assembly plant and routinely ignored their complaints about male supervisors and co-workers, some of whom were placed in leadership roles. The EEOC said the alleged harassment included inappropriate touching and sexually charged comments, and together with Stellantis' failure to discipline male harassers, created a hostile work environment that violated Title VII of the Civil Rights Act of 1964. Took me a minute. GM had no immediate comment, having yet to review its complaint. Stellantis and UAW did not immediately respond to requests for a comment about their respective cases. The GM and UAW lawsuits seek to recoup benefits that workers ages 66 and older deserve but never receive, while the Stellantis lawsuit seeks compensatory and punitive damages for female employees at the Detroit plant. Both lawsuits also seek permanent injunctions against further wrongful conduct. GM and UAW sued in the federal court in New Albany, Indiana, while Stellantis was sued in U.S. District Court in Detroit. Dang. The lawsuits are part of a string of enforcement actions by several federal agencies in the final days of the Biden administration. It is unclear how EEOC enforcement priorities will change after President-elect Donald Trump enters the White House. All right. So that last part brings this whole story to a crescendo, as it were, because that last part is pretty much telling us that they're only doing this right now because Biden is still in office and they want to get this done before Trump jumps in. And I'm assuming this is because they figure to some degree that once Trump becomes president, that, you know, he's going to be backing these companies pretty heavily. He's going to be helping them out pretty heavily to some degree to make sure they get back to the prominence that they were, so that if they tried to do these lawsuits during his presidency, he would have killed him at the beginning, I guess. I don't think that's what would have happened. I think these seem like really pretty isolated incidents when it only happened in New Albany and Detroit. So this is in the beginning stages of this story, so we're really not really in the know of what they're talking about or what's going on. Obviously, we got some young ladies over at one facility saying that there's a lot of male harassment going on, so that's definitely got to be investigated. It doesn't seem like there's been very much investigation into what's been going on as of yet. The age discrimination, they're going to fall on the sword on that because they're going to be hit. That just sounds like a situation where their lawyer didn't read the situation correctly or didn't read the stipulations correctly to the point where they put in a stipulation to not pay these folks when they really couldn't do that. So I foresee that one going away fairly quickly, then people just being paid the money that they're owed. The sexual harassment might take a little bit of time to prove or to, get some stuff done on that, because of course there's going to definitely have to be some investigation. It seems like they were saying it's widespread. Several of the male employees was doing it, so it's going to be definitely going to be some investigation going on when that one goes down. So, all right, my friends, and last but not least, Trump is going to go into office tomorrow.
Donald Trump will be officially sworn into office on Tuesday, the early hours of Tuesday Australian time, making him the second leader in US history since the 1800s to serve 2 non-consecutive terms. Mr. Trump has listed immigration, tariffs, domestic manufacturing as some of the issues he aims to address in his first 100 days.
Well, let's get into what we can expect in his second term with the Guardian's Washington Bureau Chief, David Smith, who joins us now from Washington, D.C. Thank you so much for taking the time to speak with us today, David.
Thanks, great to be here.
Right, I was just perusing the guest list for President-elect Donald Trump's inauguration. And, you know, we've got tech leaders, we've got several right-leaning global leaders expected to attend as well. What are you reading into this guest list? What can we expect?
I think that's one potentially big difference in Trump's second term from the first, the rise of these tech entrepreneurs, or as Joe Biden said in his farewell address the other night, the tech industrial complex, most prominent of all, Elon Musk, the world's richest man, head, of course, of Tesla and SpaceX, and now the social media platform X. His intervention here has been really extraordinary. He spent about $200 million helping Trump get elected, campaigned for him in Pennsylvania, and has, since demanded a seat at the table. Quite literally, he's been at Trump's Mar-a-Lago estate in Florida during this transition. He's even been on calls to foreign leaders such as Zelensky of Ukraine. It remains to be seen just how much sway he will have over this administration. And certainly critics say he's got self-interest here, that the stocks of his companies have already gone up significantly since Trump won. This is really a conflation of power and business, and that's why we see also Jeff Bezos of Amazon and Mark Zuckerberg of Facebook and many others attending this inauguration and hoping that they can sway the Trump administration going forward. And I think the presence of right-wing leaders from Europe, such as Italy and elsewhere, also shows this is very different from the Biden administration. Trump sees himself as part of that populist, nationalist movement. It's a worrying time for old alliances such as NATO, as there seems to be a new strongman approach taking shape.
Well, you know, I just want to go back to the fact that ever since his victory in November, we have seen a number of people visit, Trump's Mar-a-Lago base in recent months. And one writer likened the stream of visitors to, and I'm going to quote here, subjects paying tribute to a king. There is an expectation that there will be a sharp cultural, ideological, and political pivot from the last 4 years of the Biden administration. Is that what you're expecting as well?
Oh, yes, I think so, both in terms of personality and politics. The analogy with a king or some kind of medieval lord is accurate, and to an extent that was true in the first term as well. You have these flatterers like medieval barons coming to the court, trying to impress Trump and make his ego feel big. It's actually not that complicated.
That's why it's kind of important. I believe that Trump coming into office is important because we need a state of power. I think we've lost a lot of strict masculinity in office. I think we've come to a point where companies like China and other companies feel that we've come to some degree to be weak and allowing them to do all kinds of things to us and that we can't do to them, specifically for the automotive industry. It's the fact that we have become a company or a country that is so set on giving away all of our money and giving away all of our things, but not, expecting that reciprocity from other companies has always been a mistake in my mind. I think that Trump coming to office will change that, and he will make demands of other countries that they make of us, and even more so.
He responds to those things, and business leaders, politicians, others will be trying to get on Trump's favorable side. He says he admires and respects strength. That's why he likes President Xi of China, Vladimir Putin of Russia. You'll see lots of other people currying favor. You'll see lots of sycophancy. And to an extent, there's some of that with every president. But as ever with Trump, it's unsubtle. It's in primary colors. It's bold, and we'll see a lot more of it. And of course, politically as well, this is just a big shift from Joe Biden, a centrist Democrat who actually pleased many on his left wing with his policies that did more to favor the middle class and working class. This time around, we have 13 billionaires in government, which is just extraordinary and unheard of. And I think one of the attacks on Trump is going to be that he's
13 billionaires in government. What does that say, though? What does that doesn't that kind of say that there's a lot of intelligence and fortitude and desire in government, people who've worked extremely hard and for extremely long time to become successful? Isn't that what we want? People that are in government that we can not only strive to be like, but look up to some degree. Not financially, because they probably billionaires for a long time. Probably family were billionaires, but we have to put people in it. We have to stop coddling people. We have to let people understand that to be successful, that you have to work hard on yourself and in yourself and around the people around you. That's what the important thing is, to see people understand that stop asking for a handout and help yourself, because that's the world we have to strive for. If we don't, we've always spent so much time, just like Temu and all those things like that. The whole China situation is the big storyline. The idea that we are constantly purchasing things from China and services from overseas, when we're not purchasing from people around us and helping people around us become people who can sell us these things and build these things and work in these lithium battery factories and invent these quality items for EV vehicles. We need to come a place where we can teach people around us to be able to do these things, so we have stop bringing in all these things from the other countries. We have to stop sending our money out and not getting it back in return. It is hurting us. It hurt us for so long. We're in such a deficit. We've lost so much money spending it on other countries, helping them financially fight wars and things like that. So we really, the hope is that, and the idea is that, and the desire is that, and the reason that we back Trump is that stuff is going to change, and that's what we want to change, and that's what we hope he changes.
He's running a rich boys club. He's going to cut taxes for the wealthy. One of the looming questions, I think, if and when his grassroots supporters wake up to that and say, hang on, you promised to be the champion of the little guy. Why are you favoring the super rich?
Well, the last line, the latest line to come out of Mar-a-Lago is that a large-scale immigration.
And one thing is that, of course, this news entity is a little bit biased, you can tell, but he's trying to be super cool. But the idea that he is going to just help the super rich goes against everything he did the last time he was in office. And last time he was in office, he helped out a lot of the middle class. He spent a lot of money at colleges, specifically HBCUs. So this idea that he's only spent his time helping the super rich is just not true.
Immigration raid will take place in Chicago on the day, or just after a day after the inauguration. This, of course, had been a Trump campaign promise, that he had promised to deport illegal aliens. But given the numbers, the sizable numbers of aliens that are in the U.S., how successful will he be?
It will be a struggle, and I think on a range of issues, Trump faces this problem of living up to his very radical promises, such as ending the Ukraine war on day one and cutting prices. And of course, immigration has always been his central animating issue. We saw that in the first campaign as well with Build the Wall. This time, the main theme was mass deportations. I went to Trump campaign rallies, and immigration really dominated them, including untruths, falsehoods about the numbers coming in and where they were coming from. There are practical, logistical problems around mass deportations in terms of having enough immigration people to enforce it, then building detention camps. Just the sheer costs involved are potentially staggering. We're talking probably billions of dollars, not to mention the impact that will then have on the economy in terms of...
Honestly, I don't... When it comes to illegal immigration, that is definitely going to be a slow process. It's not going to be jumped off super fast. It's going to be hard to, like you're saying, internment camps and all that type of thing. That's going to be definitely a down the line type of thing. It's going to be extremely hard to process all that. But of course, to some degree, it's necessary. We just have way too many illegal immigrants here. If you came over the right way, no problem with that whatsoever. Illegal immigration is a problem now. It's going to continue to be a problem. So that process is going to take some long time, but
workers who are lost. So you've already heard a bit of rhetoric moderating from Trump's allies. They're going to perhaps start with undocumented immigrants who have criminal records. They're thinking maybe in the first year about 1 million people, which is still a tremendously high number, but perhaps less than he was promising. And I think a lot of it will be about managing expectations and being seen to try and live up to the promise without being able to go as far as Trump actually said he would.
David Smith, Washington Bureau Chief of The Guardian, we thank you so much for sharing your insights with us.
Thank you.
So, let's face it, guys. Starting Monday, we are going to have some very interesting days. We can only pray that there are positive days, there are good days. Of course, there's going to be bad days. Of course, there's going to be situations. This is going to be a rough go because there's a lot of things that need to be changed. There's a lot of things that need to be fixed. There's a lot of people who need to be convinced that Trump is the way to go. And that's probably the biggest thing. There's going to be a lot of people fighting against Trump. Even in my family, I still got people who don't believe in Trump and really don't want to give him a chance and continue to say bad things about him. And my thing is that it's kind of too late. We're here now. I mean, if you want a better world and you want a better United States of America, wouldn't it be better if you just worked with him as best as you can? Because he's here. He's going to be here for the next 4 years. And in the next 4 years, we have to spend all our time fixing the problems that we have. And we have a lot of problems. Y'all can't say we don't got no problems. You can't say that there's not a lot of things that need to be fixed. So why don't we just get together with this man, be like, hey, you are who you are. We want to fix these problems. We need to get these automotive industries back together. We got to stop this advancement of EVs into our country and build our own. We need to stop the giving away of money and keep our money here so that the middle class can survive happily. And we have to work together. That's what's important. So, thank you for tuning in. Once again, I am your host, Chris Surratt. Please like, share, subscribe, and pray for more exciting days in the future. And I'm out. Peace.